Dear youth and students from Asia and the Pacific region, my name is Yuja. I'm the head of development and partnership at UNESCO ICUA, which stands for the International Center for UNESCO ASPnet. Welcome you all to the Asian and the Pacific Youth Dialogue, which is a part of the UNESCO Young People on Transforming Education project. Before we starting our discussions, allow me to provide you some context. Following the call from the UN Transforming Education Summit, the Young People on Transforming Education project was co-initiated last September by the UNESCO Institute for Higher Education in Latin America and the Caribbean, and the UNESCO International Center for ASPnet. The project aimed at mapping and discussing how different generations of young people are involved in innovative learning using digital tools and other forms of innovation. Young people is a driving force for innovative learning. How education and stakeholders and policymakers can support students' initiatives are not yet highlighted. Therefore, we are motivated to hear from you from the learners' perspectives and expectations you hold for the future. As a result, our project launched the Regional Youth Dialogues on this year's International Education Day. And thank you so much for your support and participation. We are looking forward for today's discussion. Before we officially starting the dialogue, please allow me reminding you of some of our housekeeping rules. The next slide, please. As you signed the consent form, the meeting will be recorded. And if you're not a speaker, please keep your camera and microphone switched off. When you take the floor, you can turn both on. And please be respectful of others, especially those who are speaking. Aggressive and disrespectful behavior will not be tolerated. If you engage in any of those behaviors, you will be silenced and removed from the meeting. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat, and our team will answer you as soon as possible. My colleague Theo will introduce you to the achievements from the Youth Dialogue from the past events in other regions. Theo, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Juja. It's a pleasure to be with you all here in the final dialogue of our regional dialogues. As previously mentioned, we have organizing youth dialogues, engaging with youth all over the world across the 5 UNESCO regions, starting from the Arab states, then Latin America and the Caribbean, followed by Africa, then Europe and North America, and finally we're here closing the project with the Asian and the Pacific dialogue. Also, I want to highlight that throughout the project, we also had an initiative of global mapping, gathering the good practices of innovative learning across the whole world. We engage with youth from across more than 36 countries, totaling 170 answers that will be part of our report of the project. With no further to add, I am very, very glad to have gathered this amazing panel of young innovators in Asia and the Pacific, and wish you nothing but the best. Thank you so much, Juja.
Thank you so much. Dear participants, welcome to the dialogue session. Our goal is to lead this session with a conversational. Free to start to chat as a friend, to share your perspectives, express your emotions, comment on each other, and encourage each other. To kick things off, let's start with a short self-introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What is your name? Where are you from? What is your educational background? Are you a college student? Are you a high school student or junior high student? Please keep it in 1 minute. And how about let's start from Ziyun from China. And Ziyun, after you are done, please pick one participant to be the next one to introduce him or herself. Thank you. And the floor is yours, Ziyun.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Ziyun, and I live in Beijing, China. I'm currently in the 11th grade in high school. and that's basically me and my educational background. I have a strong East Asian cultural background, but I'm stepping into international education and applying to overseas universities. So I'm in a bilingual environment in school with Sinan on the side. And yeah, I'm a big fan of UNESCO, and I'm very honored to have this opportunity to discuss with you about innovative learning. Yeah. And Sinan, you may take the floor.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So yeah, as mentioned before, I come from the same school as Ziyun, and yeah. So before I'm Xiran, and I'm also currently a 11th grade student. And before the high school, when I was in middle school, I learned in a Chinese traditional middle school, and in the high school, I entered the international curriculum system, and yeah, I'm basically adapting to a new learning environment and apply and preparing for the application for the overseas universities. And it's my pleasure and great honor today to be here to discuss with you something about innovative learning methods. And I really look forward to our discussions. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Xinan, please choose one participant to introduce him or herself. Oh, okay. So maybe Miss Santa.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone from Malaysia. My name is Santanaya. I'm the project officer for partnerships and events at the Global Schools program. I'm also an English teacher as well. I'm the head of department for arts and English, master trainer for the new CFR curriculum at schools. I graduated with a Bachelor of Teaching in Honors in Teaching English. Have experience in teaching, training, coaching, creating ESD content and event proposals. Plus, it was a great honor to actually attend the Transforming Education Summit last year in New York. So that was indeed a privilege for me. And I'm actually also a co-founder and a program manager for a non-profit organization called Daria, where we created an environmental education playbook for primary school learners. So I'm still learning from all of you, even though I'm a teacher. So it's good to be here. Thank you. I think I'll nominate Jeffrey.
All right. All right. So, hello. Yeah, good evening from the Philippines. All right. So, I am Jeff. Uh, Same with Santa, I'm also an educator. I do teach future teachers. In fact, moments ago before joining in, I just finished my technology for teaching and learning class. Since I do, aside from teaching future educators education subjects, uh, I do also train current teachers with some tools regarding teaching and learning. And you talk about innovative learning, at least it is aligned with my master's degree in information technology integration, specifically more on edtech. And I look forward to this opportunity to learn from you. This is my first time, and I look forward to getting insights from all of you. And I would call on Nir. Nir.
Hi, am I audible now? Hi everyone, I'm Neil Shrestha from Nepal. Currently pursuing my master's degree in conflict, peace, and development studies. Also, I'm working as the program officer at the Blind Youth Association Nepal as a program officer, and I'm a visually impaired person. I have been working in the disability rights and inclusion here in Nepal since 2016, especially advocating for the inclusive education of children with disabilities. And I'm very glad to be the part of this initiative and this part of this panel discussion. Thank you. Additionally, I'm also affiliated with the Global Partnership for Education as a GP youth leader that advocates for the inclusive and quality education across the world. And additionally, I'm also the member at UNESCO SDG for Youth and Student Network. Thank you so much. Show who is left yet to introduce. Can moderator assist me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you perfectly. Thank you so much. Wonderful, everyone. Thank you so much. I see that we have quite a diverse background today. We have both young professionals in technology. We have NGO workers in climate, and as well as we have students, and we are from different countries. So I can't wait to hear more from you all. And during the session, please feel free to build upon on each other's points or like offer counter arguments respectfully. Collaboration, diverse perspective would absolutely enrich our discussion. And as we proceed, I will ensure we stay on track with time. We want to cover as much ground as possible while we allowing for a fruitful exchange of ideas. So how about we start with our first question? So our first question is, how would you define and describe, one sec. How would you define and describe the standard learning practices in your region or your country? Or what type of educational practices did you experience as a learner in the formal education? Jeffrey, would you mind to share your experiences and the perspectives? Thank you.
Sure. I'll keep it within the time limit. You talk about educational practices in the Philippines. Currently, we follow the K-12 system, wherein kinder plus 12 years of basic education. So that's our educational system here. And aside from that, the focus of the curriculum, if I'll be very technical, will be on 21st century skills as well as values integration. So that's mainly a very quick description about our educational system here. Though despite there are some challenges, of course, like resources and the contents of the curriculum, perhaps some fine tuning, and they are in the process of updating the contents of it. But that's the educational practices. Now, in terms of educational experiences that I personally experienced as a learner in formal education, I did experience the kinder plus the 10 years of basic education. I did not experience the additional 2 years of senior high school because it's just very recent. But with regards to formal schooling, yeah, as far as I can vividly remember, teacher-centered instruction and combination of learner-centered activities. It's still being practiced until now that I teach future educators, and I always inculcate with them that there should be a balance between content and practice because that's based on my experience. And yeah, perhaps I can end it with that part.
And may I follow up with one question? And how do the high school students transit to the higher education?
Okay.
It's
You talk
important.
about, oh yeah, sure. So you talk about, wait, I will answer that from my experience and with the current curriculum. Okay, let's start from my experience. So from my experience, without the 2 years of senior high school, after finishing grade 10 or fourth year high school during my time, entrance exam to colleges. Take entrance exam to colleges during your fourth year of high school. But now, after it's now called grade 10 instead of fourth year high school, you will now choose between the strands. No, there are strands available for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, accountancy, business, and management, humanities and social sciences, and even a technical vocational and livelihood track, and then general academics. So you now have the option to choose between among those five for your senior high school, 2 years. Then after that, higher education. If you wish to pursue higher education or if you're eligible for work. Yeah, that's the case right now in our educational system. But from my experience, yeah, after high school, then immediately to higher education. But in the current experience, we have the tracks first before you for senior high school, then higher ed.
Thank you for sharing. And how about Stanza? How's your experiences?
Experience,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry. No, go ahead. Yeah, so like what Jeffrey was saying, first of all, thank you for the opportunity of having me. Malaysian education system is a little bit different. So we still do have the preschool, we do have the primary school, and then we do have the secondary school. It's like a 2+6+5 uh kind of system. So every student in Malaysia should complete primary school and secondary school education. And I had the honor and privilege to actually complete the whole thing. So school was fun to me, even though it was sometimes boring. So, it really gave me a backbone because I started developing values from my school itself while I was studying. So, Malaysian schools have been trying to move away from this rigid exam oriented kind of system to more flipped classroom where we want it to be more student-centered with 21st century skills, where students take ownership of their learning processes and teachers become facilitators rather than being a very strict teacher in the classroom. They assist students and, grow from there. And apart from that, we have been learning the most of learning practices these days. We want students to be able to achieve certain skills that is needed in the curriculum. So we are going to change the curriculum soon. They have another blueprint coming up because 2025 our current curriculum will end, and they came back to us needing feedbacks. So when I was studying, it was like a very one-way communication. I didn't have much opportunities of asking in the classroom, questions. We would rely on like educational resources or even out of classes, tuition classes. We relied more on tuition classes outside of school, because our tuition teachers had more tips to score for the exams rather than our school teachers at school. So, when I grew up studying, I even got my laptop when I was only 17. That time internet was booming. That was like what, 17 years ago. So, 17, 20 years ago is considered like old already, for the younger generation these days. But those things were the values that I learned in school, which created who am I today. Like I started my first international session when I was 16 at school, high school itself. So I started volunteering because my counselor gave me an opportunity. If that teacher didn't give me the opportunity, I wouldn't be here today. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I can see that you have your school education experiences has incorporated using technology at a very early age and early stage. That's a very valuable experiences to share. And how about Leo? How about you, Nepal? What is your education experiences and your formal education system looks like? Neil, can you hear me? The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. Talking about education system in Nepal, so we have reduced recently some major changes happened in our education system. Previously, when I was in schooling, we had different system, a little bit different system. Like we had pre-primary, primary, lower secondary, secondary. That system was designed, and there was the number grading system, but later on, I think it's 2017. I forgot the date, but since 2017, the letter system, our number grading system was completely removed, and letter grading system was applied since the till the education secondary level education examination. And now we have pre-primary, basic, and secondary category in our school education program. So by policy, it is said that there should be 1 year pre-primary school, but in practice, it's from 1 year to 3 year in the pre-primary level. Then from class 1 to 8, it is under the basic education, and from class 9 to 12, it's secondary education here in Nepal. And the final exam of class 10th grade, that is considered as the secondary education exam, and that is uh, uh, it is still managed by the National Examination Board, though the authority has been given to the provincial and local government. So it is still managed by the National Examination Board, that is responsible for handling that SAE exam, which is the last final examination of 10th grade. And after the completion of 10th grade, the students have the choice to choose the particular stream, like whether they want to go the science or management or humanities or education stream. So they have the option to choose, and they can go any field they would love to join. So that's the system that we have. And like traditional, in previous years, there used to have more traditional method of teaching system in our countries, but gradually it has been shifted. Like teachers are being facilitators rather than the strict what to say teacher. Student engagement has been increased in the classroom rather than the giving the lectures by the teachers. But yet the rote learning method, traditional teaching methods still exist, in especially in out of the city areas, because the some very limited publics and renowned schools and private schools have applied student engagement teaching methodology, but many they are still applying the rote learning methods, or what to say, like lecturing methods in the school examination. So that's the system that we have. And since I also work for the inclusive education, so here in Nepal, so though the government has the policy of inclusive education, it is not fully implemented. We have special schools, we have integrated schools, we have research classes, and we have inclusive education schools here in Nepal. But especially for deaf students, they are taught in the special schools, and we have a few schools that is especially for blind students, and other students are taught in the integrated settings. We have around 380 research classes. Primarily, those research classes are for visually impaired or blind students, and for children with intellectual disabilities. And like the children with intellectual disabilities are just limited in the research classes only. They are not integrated into the mainstreaming classes. But blind children and children with physical disability, they are properly integrated in the regular classroom and taught in inclusive setting. But yet we need to work on the evaluation system, what to say, assessment system and support system. So despite envisioning to ensure the inclusive education, that has not been properly implemented here in Nepal. Thank you. I think I could be able to respond to your question.
Thank you so much, Neil. That's a very detailed and comprehensive overview of the education system. And I find that there are some similarities between three of your answers from the young professionals. I see you mentioned like there's some differences between your experiences and what your government or like your institute is trying to change, trying to innovate to adjust the current society in the world. So how about the other two students? I know you both are high school students now. Could you share your experiences? Let's start with Ziyun. Ziyun, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. In terms of the standard education process in China, children have to go through a mandatory 9-year education process from primary school to middle school. And then there will be a high school entering examination that will kind of separates two group of students, one group into like high school and the other group into high school that prepares them for certain skills and careers. And the students that get their way via the exam into the high schools, eventually after 3 years of high school, they take a college entry examination, which is like a very big event in China every year, that most students that age will take in order to get into college. And yeah, that it's very competitive. But now in the 21st century and in recent years, the government here is trying to really change the process or the intention of this exam-based situation by allowing students to choose certain subjects to take, and their combination of subjects they take in the college entry examination will sort of provide a direction for them in their majors in college. In other words, how they what they choose to take in the exam will eventually sort of decide what they will major in college. So that's like one of the major changes in recent years that I could remember. I think Xinran would agree with me on most parts. And as for me, I've been a student in this system for most of my life, and I've finished the 9-year mandatory education system clearly, and I've also taken the high school entry examination, which is probably the biggest exam I will take in my life. Because I'm not going through the other process because I'm applying to overseas universities. And that was, I could vividly remember the last year in middle school when we are preparing ourselves for the exam and we are, it's a very harsh experience. There will be exams almost every day for us to practice. And I could also imagine how hard it would be for students 3 years bigger than us preparing for the college entering examination. So yeah, that's the situation that I'm most familiar with, the standard one in my country.
Thank you, Ziyun. Yes, I also noticed the change from like the high school examination. Xinran, do you have anything to add to Ziyun?
Yeah, since Ziyun's introduction is already like very comprehensive, I'll just share some of my like personal experiences in this system. So like as Ziyun mentioned before, basically Chinese schools from primary schools to high schools lay much emphasis on the deep understanding of theoretical knowledge in the basic subjects. And so which means that since primary school to high schools, I spend most of my time studying the theoretical knowledge from my textbooks and try to perform well in the examinations and to learn, collaborate, and compete with my peers. So yeah, it's a bit stressful, I would say, but it also taught me a lot. So as a result, like having experienced some of like high school entrance exams and other things in the Chinese traditional middle school system, I would say like I was really grateful for the lots of instructions from my teachers, my mentors, and my peers. And I'm also like grateful for myself for being able to learn to how to work hard for my goals. But I would say like I would admit that there is a certain regret I would like to compensate for if I were go back to my middle school, because since I cared so much about the examinations and my grades, sometimes I will miss something happen around me. For example, like for the last year in the middle school, we are all preparing for the final examinations. So actually, lots of my classmates just spend their weekends or all of their free times just locking themselves in their study rooms or in the classrooms to review for the knowledge. But actually, after like looking back as a high school student, looking back at me under such pressure, under such an exam-oriented atmosphere, I would say I missed some of the precious experiences. For example, like with my family members, and also to notice what's happening around the world with me. And although at that time I tried to avoid thinking about that question, I had a confusion of how does the theoretical knowledge, which we are so familiar with, connect to the real world applications. So yeah. So basically, overall, I would say this education experience taught me a lot, but there is still something we could improve utilizing innovative education methods.
Thank you, Xinran, for sharing your personal experiences, and I can see that the exam has been you sound like a stress, but you have navigated the stress and to question your experience, reflect on your experience, and contribute your perspective on what can be better, what can be changed. Thank you so much. And our next question is considering your previous context you have mentioned in your environment, in your school system, your country, how would you define innovative learning? What are the more relevant features of transforming education? Jeffrey, we will start with you. The floor is yours.
Sure. Hearing those to start off, hearing those sharings by our friends here would actually tell us that we are on a path towards innovative learning. We could say that. But when you talk about innovative learning, it should be first student-centered. Okay, I am answering this from the perspective of an educator. Who is teaching who's teaching future educators, not only equipping them with the right skills to teach or integrate technology. Well, actually, most of them are future English teachers. There are lots of them. But when you talk about innovative learning, first, it should be student-centered. You talk about dynamic. Okay, aside from being innovative, it should be dynamic because we should respond to the needs of the learners, of course. And then it should at least accept or adapt an adaptive way of learning. So innovative, barrier-free, and adaptive. Now, why did I mention those three keywords? Because that is what is happening right now. At least from a future educator from an educator's vantage point, as much as possible, we should adapt to the ever-changing needs of the learners. At least I can assume that our two friends here, at least with their age, I also teach students that age, and the needs right now of 11th grade students here in our country might be different from there. But as teachers, at least having a knowledge would be those needs will be of great importance. And from there, if you have an idea of the needs of the learners, then you can devise some innovations. From my lens as an educator, perhaps innovations in terms of teaching. What could be the best teaching method for them? Although I would say that there's no best teaching method because there are lots of methods available. Perhaps best practices. That's innovation. If you don't have an idea about your target audiences, your learners, their needs, how can you make just a small step to innovate? Because if you still teach the way you teach the old way, how are you going to be responsive and how are you going to develop these 21st century skills, right? So that's being adaptive. And you talk about barrier-free, of course, you talk about inclusion. I also teach future special education teachers. That's why and also I'm a graduate of a Bachelor of Elementary Education, major in special education, and that's why special education is very close to my heart. And through that, of course, barrier free, you aside from providing activities for them, of course, aside from your regular learners, that's one way of differentiating instruction, by the way. Um, you try to provide equal opportunities. It's very it may sound ideal, but that should be the right thing to do. So that's barrier free. So I think that will encompass all of my answers with regards to defining innovative learning.
Thank you so much. And I can agree with you more. And you mentioned the transforming education is more from like transform from the traditional teaching methods, like the teacher decides what to teach, and towards student-centered learning and focus on students' needs. I think that's actually responded to what Xinlan just mentioned, like her experiences and what she wants and how teacher can interact with that needs. Thank you so much. Stanza, well, what's your take on this, the transforming education?
Right. So this is very interesting to me because, first of all, it's so heartbreaking to hear that students struggling in the examination, locking yourselves up, in the room. Me being a teacher, we want to get away from the exam-oriented system so much so that, we give you the freedom of learning. So, hats off to two of you, going through that robust education system and, being able to still go through it. For me, innovative learning would be in the context of student being able to create something new from what they have learned. Like I think so, Mr. Jeffrey have almost mentioned what I would echo with him, like students' learning needs and being adaptive. But transforming the whole education system, in a whole, it should cater current and future needs skills of the learners itself. It is important, for us to, acquire the future skills that students need. And sadly, we're still fighting for access in quality education, equity in education, low literacy rates, and even financing education in many areas, and even protecting those underprivileged, and even crisis situations where we still fight for the right for education. It shouldn't be such way. So transforming in a whole, innovative is another branch at whole where you use technology. We cannot be learning in an environment that we had 20 years ago. Students these days have everything in hand. You guys have the handphones, laptops, internet, social media. It's there for you. And what more do you need? So, rather than focusing so much on student-centered as well, which is important, I would also, go back to teachers reskilling and upskilling. I know we put a lot of pressure on teachers, but I think so we forget the educators at the Transforming Education Summit. We are focusing more on youth, but where are the real educators out there? You should be coming up and telling us, hey, we need this in our education system, and assist us in this way. I think so teachers don't get enough exposure of different industry experiences out there to be able to, have innovative learning. Yes, you go through your grad school, you take up extra, your own pocket money to go out and learn new skills outside, so for you to teach the classroom, like which what I did when I started my career. Like I had to pay to learn about startups. I had to pay to learn about storyboarding. I had to pay to even learn how to make a makerspace in my school. So, but Malaysian education system has given us the opportunity for teachers to go through a lot of edtech experience recently. Like you can be a Google educated teacher, you can be Google educated trainers and even Apple teacher, and it benefits the school in whole. So teachers should be reskilled, upskilled, and this training of new skills shouldn't be intimidating for these teachers. They should take it like openly. And being an education system is like it's a lifelong journey, and but this training for the teachers, it should be in a scaffolding experience where it allows them to process the content uh in a fun way so that they can go back and go beyond the textbooks, because theory to practice is totally different, like what I just heard from the students say. When I was studying in my undergrad, basically fully was theory and a couple of months, 1.5 years of practical. But when I went to school and teach, what I learned theory was only 10%. So I had to learn what I had, around me. And I was posted in a very remote school when I started my career. So teachers should be, allowed to go beyond their textbooks. The teacher training institution itself should progress alongside transforming education. So we can't be blaming COVID anymore. We can't be blaming the pandemic anymore. The pandemic is over, even though it's still there. Like, what's next? We have children who can't read and write as well. So it's back to square one. So, you have to scaffold, overhaul the whole thing to really transform education, and every stakeholder should come in. So, like, I think so, Jeffrey was mentioning more on students. I would say, more on teachers' role as well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And I find one similar point you have with Jeffrey is like Jeffrey mentioned, like how innovative learning is for all students. With
Yep.
like students have different like needs, and you have mentioned like using technology or like having innovative education is not to like worsen the existed challenges in education for centuries, inequality, something like that, but actually to leverage as a tool to solve these challenges. And also you mentioned that the teachers' needs and the teachers' decision-making rights in what they teach and how to teach that will actually correspond to understand their students' needs and to personalize that teaching. So thank you for sharing. And Neil, what's your perspective? The floor is yours. Neil, are you with us?
Okay, am I audible? Sorry.
Yes, the floor is yours.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you so much. So, my internet is like fluctuating. So, if my voice is not clear, please let me know. For me, talking about the innovative learning, I completely agree what fellow panelists have told about, like teachers' capacity of skilling, capacity of teachers. So, in my context, what I believe is like actually innovative learning means uh, engagement of students along with the teachers in the classroom, teaching in such a way in which the ability or the perceiving capacity of the learners can properly be replicated and integrated in the education system. That's which I believe the real innovative learning technique is. What I mean to say is like each individual has different learning abilities. Some students may be very good in listening, where some may be very good at visual, and some may need to experiment only after then they can learn what they are intended to learn. So, but what we have in our education system at this moment is it's mostly focused on lecture method. It's mostly focused on uh, believing on what the teacher said, and more teachers giving the assignment to the students and submitting the assignment to the like on time. That's the limitation that we have. But engagement of the students is beyond the providing the assignment. Like how the voices of students are reflected, how the teaching learning methodologies or materials are applied inside the classroom, or how they are being exposed, or what experiments are done in order to give the proper concept about any content or the concept that is being taught. So that matters how the innovative learning is. So what my conclusion is that, like, um if any on many of you have heard about the term universal design for learning, UDL, and that UDL is completely focused on innovative learning techniques, which is believes that there should be the strong engagement of students, and it's the education should be provided based on the learning capabilities of the students. So if the student is a visual learner, perhaps they could be taught with the visual techniques, or someone who is good at listening, or those who are audible uh, learner, they could be provided with the audible materials, and those who are a physical learner, they should be encountered with the experimental sort of things. Only after then the quality of learning can be ensured. So, if you really want to transform the education, and if you really want to envision an inclusive and quality education for all, so first of all, the learning capacity or learning needs of the students should be properly analyzed, and the teaching methodologies should be adapted based on the uh, learning requirements of the students. And teachers should be there as the supporter or facilitator, and this should design multiple activities so that through which the students can learn, and not only the learn but also can apply the learnings in their life practically. What we have seen at this moment is that the students are very good at theories, so they can give lots of explanation. They can provide like what the critical inputs, or they can debate like round and round. But when it comes to the practical application, that is very poor, because they are taught theoretically, but they are not taught how to link that theories into practical application. And that's the major gap that we have. And if we can really abolish, or if we can really remove this gap in our education system, that actually look like the transforming education that we want to see, that actually look like what the innovative learning that we have been talking about. So this is the thing that I imagine in regards to the innovative learning, and uh, uh, if I envision the transforming education really look like. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And uh, add upon on the previous speakers, you have mentioned, you gave us some like in real life examples, what does the personalized learning looks like, and why it is important, and how to differentiate learning and to meet students' needs. That's very valuable. Thank you. And Ziyun, as a student, we heard from the teachers' perspectives and their challenges in their job and what they want to collaborate with their students and how to meet their needs. What do you think as students? What's your perspective?
Well, I definitely agree that innovative learning or transformative learning should be somehow student-based or student-centered. But I'm oftentimes confused with some of the ideals proposed, and I definitely agreed on because I have a teacher who's very close to me, and she's not teaching me anymore, but I visit her once in a while, and she teaches Mandarin, Chinese language and literature. And she told me that now that the government officials are trying to promote a certain transformative learning process, like adding an investigative unit to each textbook, so that every semester the students will have this certain time where they cooperate on a project, a practical of one that's not like studying specific text pieces or just reading and doing test questions. So it should be a somehow very fun process. But what my teacher told me was that neither the students nor the teachers have really enjoyed it, because the teachers who has been teaching like same texts for years are not very familiar with how to, prepare their students for these kind of tasks. And it's very exhausting for them as well, because it certainly needs more energy that they had to devote into the tasks in order to make these things fun for the students. And as for us, the students who take part in these tasks, the reason that they don't enjoy it, according to my teacher, is that because the students and their parents don't think these transformative fun things are actually useful in their tests, they don't want to waste their time in doing this, or they should just have a skim over it and then just pass on to other topics. So I think this is a very complicated question, in that how to make these things more engaging for the teachers and the students. And I also recall in my 10th grade, we were learning biology and chemistry, because we don't need to take part in the big examination. We don't have time to go to the school's labs and do experiments. But at that time, although it doesn't like really benefits us to do experience practically, many of our peers, including me and Xinyan, we really wish that we had the chance to actually go and do the experiments and in the chem and or biology labs. So I think the things really depends on the situation. But in general, I would define that a transformative education is what diverges from the exam-based process in my country. The divergence could be manifested through the content that is taught and the media of teaching in many other ways. And key elements of this kind of education may include the diversity of content. Basically, it's not limiting itself to what will be eventually tested, and probably more hands-on practical ways to learn. For instance, if we push our lenses backwards for like 100 years, perhaps, by that time, maybe a teacher or a certain group of people invented field trips. By that time, it may be an innovative learning device, because it brings the learning space out of the classroom and into the scenes where the content of teaching actually occurs. Like if you're teaching biology, maybe you could bring the students to a park and really observe the creatures and stuff like that. So really it's about in our days with technology, digital devices, how could we make the teaching and learning experience more diverse and hands-on, instead of learning theoretical knowledge and not really knowing how it connects to real life. So yeah, that's my point of view.
Thank you so much. I really can agree more with your point. We sometimes, myself, I was also an educator. I have taught different ages, and I when we think about what's the purpose of education, different theories give you different answers. But really thinking from a student's perspective, learning and studying need to be fun, and growing up needs to be fun, and that actually make our experiences about learning more positive, motivated. So that's a very interesting point. Xinran, what's your take on this question? The floor is yours.
Okay, so yeah. After so many excellent speakings from the former presenters, I'm inspired a lot. And like in my point of view, two important goals of transformative education should be, first of all, help the students to find their interested major, which should be narrow enough for them to put their limited attention and energy to that subject. And the second is that they should start developing the ability to put what they've learned in their textbooks to the real world practices. And in my point of view, one important step that should be taken to achieve this goal, considering the limitations of like the difficulties in terms of implementation of the innovations like Ziyun have mentioned, and other like limited resources, maybe internet and should be helpful in this context. So for example, as proposed by UNESCO, introduced by Ms. Yu Jia, actually, I thought like technological support will largely empower the development of education, whatever the educational equality or some further advancements. So first of all, like for students like me who live in the cities, who have well enough education resources compared to students in the rural areas, internet can be a powerful tool for us to expand our worldview, to more comprehensively consider all the problems and try to connect what we've learned into the real world. And thus we are likely to be more oriented as a learner. And we would have less confusions, and we will be more passionate in terms of what we are going to learn in the future. And on the other hand, for the students living in the rural areas, I thought like internet is one of the most accessible way for them to learn new things. Because like at least in most of the parts in China, the internet infrastructure has been constructed well. However, like last year when I went back to my hometown, which was in a small village in rural area, I found like most of the people, they would use internet every day, but most of the time they use it for entertainment. Like they view short videos on the social platforms, and they don't realize that actually they could use internet for learning. And since they also complain about like they don't have the equal opportunity as the students in the urban areas to take the high school or college entrance examinations, they could actually use the open resources posted online, like the resources posted even by some of the top universities, to take these curriculums to expand their horizons and to amplify what they've learned in their schools, to shorten the gap between the education resources in urban and rural areas. Yeah.
Thank you, Xinyan, for sharing. You have also mentioned several interesting points, which we will talk in the next round in terms of like the gaps in the real world, and also like what skills, tools are needed to shorten the gaps. And I think the first round of questions, we thank you all for providing very fruitful thoughts and perspectives. There are many like similarities and differences in different countries' context. There's some like, for example, in different country, the years of high school or the middle school are different. Like you might call it differently. But I have noticed there's some like keywords you all mentioned: change, and 21st century skills, and empowering and teacher and personalized learning, especially your emphasis on personalized learning and the supports for teachers, how to meet student needs, how to are very crucial for today's discussion. and how to support students' initiatives. And I'd like to invite you all to elaborate and explore deeper in next rounds. The first question in next round is, do you consider that your secondary education experience given you the necessary tools to succeed in higher education? If not, could you please tell us the elements you feel need to be transformed to smooth the transition? Jeffrey, we will start with you again.
All right. That question is actually a question that I'm still answering up until now. Just imagine, I already finished my master's degree, and soon I'll be starting my doctorate degree by very early next year. So, I would say yes and no. Yes, because as far as I can remember, the contents of the entrance examinations for higher education, aside from the standardized tests, it consists of the knowledge that formal education or basic education will teach you actually. It contains that. It already contained the knowledge about English, math, science, general education, basically. Okay, that would be for the yes part. Well, no, because there are some aspects that this is my personal experience. There are some contents of it na it was not covered during my basic education days, during my elementary and high school days, which I think required me to review a lot more. Perhaps just a personal story. At least I failed in most of my entrance examinations during my college application days, and perhaps I'm seeing the reason why right now. Perhaps the content might be too high for for higher education to from secondary and higher education. Perhaps that's the gap right there. Well, perhaps I'm seeing it as the reason why they are having the entrance examination to carefully select the students that will be part of their schools or universities. But perhaps the gap might be so high. So, perhaps the solution will be some of the contents will be at least included some way somehow in the curriculum for secondary education, so that at least while the student is preparing for entrance examination, if I can recall it right in Zuyun's sharing a while ago, if in their country, a high school examination is a big deal, it's a big day for them. In the Philippines, at least the higher education entrance examination is a big thing, okay? Because some of the big universities here, yeah, they actually conduct entrance examinations, and the students are really preparing for it. Reviewers, as in books of reviewers, just to prepare for that one day entrance exam. And after that exact day of the examination, they will wait for at least months. Another big day would come, the release date of the results. That's another big day, because that is if I can interpret the results right, because I also handled senior high school and junior high school students way back then. It is actually a make or break day for them when the envelope containing the results are handed to them, and then they saw the results, and if they passed, they would be so happy. If not, they would cry a lot, especially if the student failed in all of the schools that he or she examined. So I know the feeling, both as a student taking the exam and as a teacher having those students taking the exam. So perhaps the gap would be the content. It might be so high, and the solution might be kindly revisit the curriculum so that at least there's some sort of alignment. And I think that would not only help the higher education institutions um, revisit their exams, but also um, for the students also to prepare even more. No, but well, I think that encompasses all of my answers. Yeah.
Thank you. You have mentioned the content is one of the gaps you have experienced in your country, and how to solve the issue. Maybe like more collaborations between, like the policymakers collaborations, so they can like have some like connections between the content, or in the higher education, have some like a prep period to support the students for the transition. Am I correct? Did I understand? Okay, great. Stasa, how about your experience? What is your experience when you transit from high school to college?
Yeah. So my secondary school experience was very interesting. When I was 16, 17, I was like a little bit playful. I could have scored straight A's in my public examination, but I didn't. So that was interesting. And I didn't want to be a teacher. So normally you say, okay, you should know what you want to be. You should, you have a vision of what course do you want to study in college. I didn't have that. Like I say, I will jump into whatever I dream I want to be and, just go for it. So I really wanted to be a fashion designer, but unfortunately I didn't become a fashion designer. I'm a teacher here today. So what happened was I applied for so many different courses, which could give me a guaranteed job later once I finish my undergraduate, like teaching, studying law, all this basic Asian mentality of being an engineer, being a teacher, being a doctor or a lawyer or in the medical line is a guaranteed job. Those kind of mindset, 20 years ago, it's still there. So with that mindset, I applied for so many courses and I was actually given those opportunities, but a very later stage. So I was lucky enough to go through the Form 6 education. I didn't get teaching in the first round because it was like an undergraduate whole program, 5.5 years. Then I was offered to do diploma in pharmacy. I was offered to be a marine biologist. I was offered to study law, those kind of things. But I was not interested in those things. I was like thinking like, what am I going to do sitting in the hospital being a pharmacist? No, I don't want to be, checking on patients' medications every day. That's boring to me, because I grew up in secondary school being this student like hungry for new things, and my school didn't give me that much opportunity. I used to be asking a lot of hows and whys in the classroom and nobody answered me at the age of 15 and 16, compared to these days students, your teacher is there, Google is there to help you. And the funny part was like when I went into Form 6 education, because I was a full science stream student and got into a full art stream undergraduate. So I studied biology, chemistry, physics, additional mathematics, all those kind of stuff during Form 6. And Form 6 in Malaysia, science stream is equivalent to like a med school. So even though there's like 1.5 years kind of studies, but it was so heavy that I've completed my Form 6. And when I entered my foundation studies for my bachelor's, it was an ease for me because I've had that struggle of studying so hard, 1.5 years in Form 6, and then going into another, I had to repeat like the foundation again. So I couldn't go straight into my degree because it was a government teachers training institute where I went to. And if I was just thinking, if a student didn't go through a Form 6 experience, he or she would be struggling in their foundation. And how much mental capacity that a student could really have in the tertiary level. And I was lucky enough to go through that Form 6, and I was okay in undergraduate because I loved learning. So, like 4 years, I didn't have much entertainment during my undergraduate. I really asked questions, and unfortunately, my teacher's training degree, we didn't have the overseas training like my seniors had. Like my senior teachers had, colleagues had like 2 years in Malaysia, 2 years in the UK, or 2 years here, or 2 years in Australia. I didn't have that opportunity. I was upset. I was really upset because I didn't get that tuning course. But the gap that I saw was so, prominent to me, was that there was nobody guiding me what to do, what's next. And I had my counselor there, but she was like, do what you love to do. But I want to be a fashion designer. How can I be a fashion designer when there's no guarantee job there? And these days, you have people to guide you. Students these days are lucky enough, like, hey, I want to go to Harvard. I want to go to Princeton. I want to go to Cambridge. What should I do? It's there. Like when I was studying, it wasn't there for me. I had to go and search for information. I had to fill in my own forms. So one gap that I see from those days and these days, that information is available for you to take the next step. So how much do you use that information to be a better student? And when I was in undergraduate, I was like so into learning. I'm yet to like really do my master's. I was doing it, but I stopped studying. Um, my undergraduate changed me entirely because I was posted to teachers training college where there's no entertainment, there's no cinema in that state. It was only my campus was by the sea. Every week we'll bring in the assignment and sit by the beach and discuss our assignment. So those experience helped me to, transition, to forget the difficulty of losing out so much in secondary school. I know I lost so much in secondary school because my school, it is a good school. The education system was okay, not so great, like compared to today. You know, Today students are exam oriented, but at the same time, they're given so much opportunity. So you students, I would say, like, grab those opportunities. I am very ambitious, like sometimes with the very young ones getting, so much opportunity when I didn't get when I was like 20 years ago. So, opportunities are there. Take it. Um, the another gap that I see is that technology is there for all of you. Use it fully, everything is there. And the next thing is that I think so the teaching spectrum of training teachers have changed, and teachers know how to guide students these days. Okay, you want this, you do this. You want career A, this is your part. You want career B, this is your part. It is your decision because you are going to do the undergraduate. You are going to be in the working force soon. So transforming education as a whole, we should be able to cater for different spectrum of students. Like one side doesn't fits all. Like, Zinran is different than Zian. So the education system have to cater for all of them. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing your experience. That reminds me of my own experience too. I used to want to be a fashion designer too, but I ended up to be an educator. But I love my job. It's wonderful. And I think Iran mentioned something about they want experiences in real life. I feel like this kind of connected to your perspective that if you have experienced something real when you were younger, so it's what's the real world looks like, what's the job looks like, they helped you to to choose what you really like as a career. And absolutely, guidance is important. There are so many informations out there, but how to navigate, what tools to navigate those massive information to help you to make the right decision for yourself. It's very important. Thank you for sharing. And Neil, what's your experiences when you transit from high school to a college in your country?
Yeah, sure. So talking about my transition from high school to higher education, um, so I was born and raised in the hilly part of my country, Nepal. Uh, so though it takes around 6 hours to reach by bus from the capital city where I'm living now. So it was rural part, and the I will I my schooling was done through the research class where the research class for blind students were assigned. So I enrolled in the school when I was 7, and initially I learned Braille script, and then once I got confident writing Braille, I was switched into the regular classes. And since class 3, I went into the regular class, and from class 4 to class 10, I always became the first boy in my class. I never had to be second. And in the like in my final schooling examination, so I scored good marks and position, and I was one of the top in my district that time. So in my study, so I was just taught to like how to become a good student, like good student in the sense how to get a good marks in the exam. So I was just focused in that way, and my teachers or my parents or my closest, they always inspired, they always encouraged to me like to get a good marks in the position. Only after then you will get recognized, and you will get good scholarships and other things in order to pursue the higher education. So that has been taught to me. But I didn't feel like very less people were there, like uh they would ask me about my vision, my dream of life. Although they ask, the very less people used to guide me, like what can happen if you choose this or that stream, like in the higher education. So there was the lack of guidance for me, because I was just focused to get a good marks into my schooling time. And additionally, like there was the more focused about the theoretical contents only, since I am a visually impaired person. So we have limited books available, no reference materials available. And if you wanted to do some practical exams or practical exercise, there was no such provision, because even the teachers were not properly trained how to teach the students having visual impairment. Also, they didn't have they were not trained how to teach especially pictorial contents to the visual impairment. So that's why, though having very good theoretical knowledge, I was almost blank about like pictorial content, especially science content, science related pictorial contents, mathematical related geometry especially, and about the like figures of economics. So I always interested to get good like science and math because that was my favorite subject, and I always try to do best. But what I was brainwashed is like since I am a blind, I had no other option to go either humanity or social science or education. So that has been done in my brain was washed in that way. That's why I always limited myself that though getting a good score, I could not choose I would be able to do in anything in the science stream or management or computer science. So in that way, I was limited, and thus when I entered into the higher education, so I chose uh, sociology and psychology and did my bachelor's there. And in master's now, I'm pursuing complete peace and development studies. So what in conclusion, what I mean to say is like, uh, schooling is just focused on getting a good marks, no proper guidance, like no career guidance was used to be provided that time. That the help that caused like if there was good guidance, mentoring or proper support, perhaps today I could be uh, I'm not sure, but I could be in different positions or doing different or pursuing my master's degree in different stream, but that would not happen. Not only the mind situation, if we see other children having disabilities or not, like they also didn't have proper guidance. Like perhaps there are so many friends who are very interested in the mathematics, or there were the friends who was very good in other like social sciences, but in my schooling, there was no proper guidance. Like, if you really want to become a lawyer, you should go with this subject, or if you really want to become a engineer, you need to have such kinds of theoretical knowledge and skills. So that was not taught in this way. So that's the gap that we have. But as the time passes, so such kinds of teaching techniques have been changed. Like teachers are like being very open, use of technology has been increased, and the students are themselves are very proactive to as they are able to explore themselves. But in my time it was not such facilities. So that was my journey. And in conclusion, what I'd like to say, like, if you really want to ensure a good higher education, the student themselves should be taught or oriented from the schooling. Only after then, like, they can clearly weigh out, okay, they can really what to say, identify their dreams. They can identify the requirements in order to achieve their dreams, and they can follow the appropriate path. Otherwise, there is the high chance of misleading in the name of achieving the like future, a bright future. So that's my story. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. Yeah, you also mentioned what Netha Stanza highlighted, guidance. I see guidance has been highlighted in your response. It's important to support the young people to navigate this transition and to make the decision for themselves. And I also see that your desire or the for knowledge, of course, and also the process, the content, and the knowledge you receive could be more interdisciplinary, more diverse. That also help you to make a decision for your major and for your career. Thank you so much. And how about Yiran and Ziyun? You have heard from your from the young professionals. They have had these experiences for transitioning, and from my understanding, both of you are currently in the process of applying college. How does the process look like, and how do you feel, and what tools you have used to make you make the decisions? Xinran, how about to start with you?
Okay, sure. So, like for me, I think the most challenging gap between the secondary education to higher education is that at first I found it very difficult to find a particular discipline that will fascinate me and will turn out to be to be interesting for me to investigate on. And I think this what helps me a lot to get out of this dilemma is internet and again, like the technological support. So first of all, in terms of how to learn the theoretical knowledge in some specific or targeted discipline that you are interested in, I think like this is first of all fundamentally important in the university because it is going to be definitely more difficult in the higher education. And so internet provides students with a chance to like learn these things in advance when they're in the middle school or high school. So for example, like for me, I'm interested in computer science, but I have this passion since middle school, but I cannot find a specific subfield to investigate on. And so one day I just came across one online curriculum provided by a professor from Stanford in terms of machine learning. And it turns out to be so interesting. And I just spent like one whole semester to finish the courses. And I benefited a lot from it. And I got to know one new frontier, a specific frontier of this computer science discipline. And I got a chance to develop my passion in AI and such things. And also, I think that internet taught me a very important new learning method, which is to learn with research. So actually, as mentioned before, I have already gotten used to the pattern in which teachers tell us what to learn in the textbooks and assign assignments to us. However, like I found like self-research is very interesting for students to find what really attract them and to explore the current gaps existing in the field that interest them. And it is more active way of learning and instead of passively receiving lots of information and absorbing them. So for example, like the machine learning courses I've learned taught me a lot in terms of preparing me to do a 1-year-long project about devising an app to detect some optic diseases. And basically, I just used the knowledge I gained in that course in the real world practices. And that's what internet taught me in terms of doing research. And from the very beginning of the research in terms of finding the gap to contacting professions in that field and to finding my mentors and to finding some relevant research and literature, I benefit a lot from internet. And yeah, so I think that's what I've done to try to bridge the gap between the theoretical knowledge to the real world practices. And yeah, so I'm still like striving to better transform myself to prepare for higher education in the future. And I really expect that, I would say.
Thank you, Sheena. It's very interesting. I can see like some of your struggles are similar to the young professionals, but like you are like initiated and leverage more technological tools to help you to solve your challenges and to explore. How about Ziyun? What is your experiences?
Well, I'm different from Sarah in that I'm mostly a humanities student, so my experience may be slightly different. But I do agree that I think transformation for me has been overall pretty smooth. And that in the new generation, in the new time period with the help of technology and etc., there's definitely more resources for us to utilize in order to make this transformation easier. And also thanks to, I guess people nowadays have generally more open mindsets. Because as I know, when my mother was like going through this process, my grandparents really wanted her to go into medical school. But she decided to choose architecture. And now my parents have been very supportive in me choosing disciplines and majors I like that may not be traditionally considered as practical. Yeah, so my top interests would be literature. And I do believe that the current school that I'm in really helped me in the transformation, because before this in middle school and even earlier, the study of language and literature has mostly been the teachers inputting terms and analysis into my mindsets. But now I'm participating in the school's English literature course, which you basically go there for the discussion. I really enjoy the process of close reading, making analysis, and just discussing it with my peers, because I find humanities subjects most productive when people discuss with each other, because everyone has a unique perspective and something to say, something to contribute. So I get to know, after I talk to some of uh the young professionals before me that get into the university's literature major, that it is very essential for me to learn how to just participate in discussions and to have these seminars with my peers, so that we could exchange our ideas and just make our classes very productive and efficient. So yeah, I think this transition has been by so far pretty smooth for me. Something I think would be considered an obstacle would be that I'm caught in the middle. It could be considered as a downside of the internet, because we're all caught up in tons of information. They may contradict one another. So it might be hard for us to make a decision, because all of the floods of information are coming onto us and telling us what to do. And sometimes it's even hard to stick to what I like, and not about other irrelevant elements and factors that may affect my decision. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say.
Yeah, thank you, Ziyun, for sharing your experiences. And I think your experiences kind of like response to the struggles that the young professional actually mentioned in their generation, that need more guidance, need more teacher support, and needs more information. And I think you have mentioned about like the downside of internet, and also the internet, how the internet massive information help you to make the decision. So I think that kind of guide us to the next question, like what skills needed to overcome some challenges. And Jeffrey, do you mind to share? What are the main obstacles you encountered to an innovative, meaningful education? What are the main skills you think are needed to overcome those challenges? Jeffrey, the floor is yours. And everyone, try to keep your answers within 3 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So with regards to the main obstacles, number one, I can relate to one insight a while ago about finding the right specialization or degree for college or higher education, because there are lots of institutions that offers that kind of course. Actually, my with regards to choosing a course, my teaching is actually my second option. But now, after what 10 years, after 10 years, now I'm at least paying back or to the profession that accepted me. That's where I'm in right now. That's my path nowadays. Teacher training, and again higher education, postgraduate studies. Actually, it's very very soon. But with regards to the obstacles, number one, I have two. First, we have ample information about that course or degree. That's number one. Because right now, as mentioned earlier, you have the information with you. Rampant access to information. So much. In fact, as you search, the search engine will help you look further, right? That's how quick it is. But before, you would at least look for flyers or at least brochures. That's how information would be limited if you at least physically inquire to get information. Wow. But at least having that experience, I try to surpass that with learning more. In fact, my college journey actually inspired me to learn more. You know? And now I'm reflecting as I listen to all of those insights earlier, both to our students here, friends, and also to our fellow professionals right here. Listening to your insights actually make me realize that, oh, there's a lot of things to learn more. I'm also a certified trainer, by the way. That's how I love learning. And it all started with my journey towards transitioning from secondary to higher ed. And that's one of my big challenges, having ample amount of information. Second would be, the second one would be having the content, or at least the content of the subjects. So this is during the journey already. Learning the content at first, if you don't have the prior knowledge or the background knowledge of the subjects from your basic education, as you progress with your journey towards higher education, it will be a struggle, if not at first, throughout. So having a strong foundation is also a challenge. That is why throughout my higher ed journey, at least aside from the subjects, I studied as well, and then yeah, it was a success, by the way. And then after that, it will be perhaps a much more meaningful journey in a way, because aside from the fact that yeah, there were struggles. Those are my two main struggles: the information and then the content. At first, I perceived it's too high at first, but throughout, okay, aside from what the teacher would share, you would also learn. So I understand the concept of collaboration during that time, and now I'm also doing it in my learners. So information and then content. So those are my two challenges, and throughout I learned to at least overcome it by learning more and the willingness to look for more. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. And you mentioned you highlighted two, information and content. So like the ability to like find the right information, use the right information, and use different methods to collaborate, or like some other methods to comprehend the content. I think then the skills are needed. Thank you so much for your input. Stasa, how do you think?
Yeah, so actually, my teaching ecosystem is very different than Jeffrey. So I teach children. So I taught three different schools, and all underprivileged schools, in a way where they are not located in cities. They're located in, like, remote areas and those kind of things. So my biggest challenge and obstacle was not being able to give enough content for my children at school. Like, every day I go into the classroom, I want them to learn something new, so that they can go home and it's like, Mom, I learned this today at school. I want them to go back and um tell, even just storytells like, Mom, I made a solar system today in English class from cardboards. It's a simple language arts lesson, but it's meaningful for them. So when I started teaching, one of my obstacles was because there was only 10% of theory that I could practice during my teaching, and I was posted to remote schools without knowing the environment of the school, the ecosystem, the background of the students. So I had to really learn them first before I could really start teaching. And that's how I started catering for each student, and each class was different from me. And I teach grade 1 to grade 6 English, and the grade 1 they have they require extra time, extra lessons. And my first 2 years of teaching, I didn't want to be a champion of using tech at remote schools. My first year was that it's like I want them to achieve basic literacy. I want them to achieve basic numeracy, those kind of things, basic fundamental reading skills and writing skills. And slowly after that, that's when I opened up more to EdTech, innovative, meaningful classroom. So language skills was more like games, play, drama, act, language arts, those kind of things. And another obstacle that I found was along the way is like, uh, those who are good in this innovative, meaningful education, they're able to find their tribe of educators out there. And I was super passionate about ESD, Education for Sustainable Development. And in Malaysia, it was really new at that time, and I couldn't find my tribe. So that was difficult. But I was already, teaching my children at school, how to use post-it notes and design thinking, how to use storyboarding, how to present about future city projects, those kind of things. And, you know, I like the fact that we have the teacher community these days, like even though that was like 8 years ago, um, that you have the similar interests to move forward to create innovative, meaningful education, and that is needed in transforming education. It is so needed that you find your tribe. I know teachers feel lonely out there, and it helps a lot teaching students. I'm sure Zinran and Zian have your own favorite teachers. Like, this teacher is so different, he or she teaches differently. There'll be one specific one will be, but these teachers, sometimes go through different obstacles in a way that they make learning more meaningful for you. They really, some teachers really go all out, and like special needs teachers, I really admire and respect special needs teachers because it's not easy. I teach a normal class of children as well. It takes the whole, 100% battery energy that we have in the body compared to special needs. So the obstacles are very different based on what kind of classrooms that you teach. So it depends on the teachers, like how you take these obstacles. I think the teachers' mental health should be taken care of first. Definitely. Students' mental health, teachers' mental health is so crucial. You don't want students and teachers to get burnt out at the same time when learning should be fun. So yeah.
Thank you. And I really like how you think as an educator. I can even see the passion from every time you share your experiences. And I think based on your previous inputs that learning need to be more inclusive, need to be more personalized. I think your experiences in teaching rural students how to provide them like a more personalized learning experience and school individual-based learning content. You need to make connections with the students because you need to know the needs. So you have to build a connection at a personal level to your students. So that's a very important skill for teachers to have, and also to build to have the skills to build communities with like-minded educators to help each other, to share and to like to the word used, the tribe, to make this experience more innovative. Thank you so much for sharing. Neil, are you here with us? What's your take on this? The main skills needed to overcome the obstacles, and please try to keep your answer within 3 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I'll try my best to make it shorten. So, in order to overcome these challenges and achieve the dream, what I envisioned for the quality education, or let's say, in order to ensure the quality learning for the children in all their diversities. So I do completely agree what my fellow panelists suggested. So I do completely agree with her point. They are very relevant because uh, if we really want to ensure the quality education, we need to be the student centric. Definitely, if we can't make it so, the learning quality cannot be ensured. So, um, stating point wise, first of all, we need to work on the physical infrastructure, because unless having inclusive and safer learning environment for the children in all their diversity, that may directly hinder in the learning achievement, because how the physical infrastructures, how the classroom have been designed or set, that matters the more in order to like in order to grab the attention of the students for their learning. So that's first thing that we need to work on. Second thing, that we need to work on the teachers' capacity development. So yes, those schools, especially those reputed schools, those schools who have been uh, gi- gi- providing a good results or good learning opportunity to perhaps there the teachers may be capacitated. But if we see the teachers from the rural areas, if we see the teachers from the different belonging different communities, so they are not yet well capacitated. So we need to capacitate them so that they will be able to provide the quality education, or they will be able to ensure quality learning environment for their students, and they can, and after then they can deliver the knowledge in an appropriate way. Next thing is that, third is that still the country like Nepal, we have been uh, like very human resource have been in the all school, many schools in Nepal, they are still struggling for the adequate teachers provision. So despite having lots of numbers of students, there are very limited teachers, and have those teachers who are there, they are also not the subject teachers are not available in all the schools. So we need to rethink about how to mobilize the subject teachers in different schools, or how to ensure all the subject teachers are available in all the schools. So that's another important thing that we need to work on. Next thing, that ensure availability of teaching learning materials and reference materials in all the schools. So here I mean to say, not only materials, I mean to say accessible IEC materials, because in even today, many schools, especially those schools where the children with disabilities are also studying, there is very limited resource materials available. There is no materials like accessible materials available for addressing the needs of students having different types of disabilities. So that's also most important thing. And another important thing is that still we need to
Neil, you have
have the
30
concrete.
seconds. Sorry, Neil, you have 30
Yeah,
seconds to
sure.
wrap up.
Okay, sure.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So I'm just wrapping up. So my final point is that there is the huge debate on special education or inclusive education. But if we really want to ensure no like before going into the innovating learning, we need to also ensure the learning environment for all. So we all need to make people understand, or they need to be like they need to keep in mind that the cost of exclusion is much more higher than the cost of inclusion. That's why it may take time to ensure all the things that what we have discussed at this moment. But unless ensuring these environment, materials, capacity, we can assure quality or innovating learning environment. So we need to work on this aspect and making the decision makers aware about these all things. That's my final point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neil. I think your perspective is more from like administrative and the policy making perspective that you mentioned, like the environment is so important, even how the classroom is set up and the capacity building for the teachers and the planning to mobilize resources, to distribute resources and materials are contributing to make innovative learning more possible. Okay, so Xinran, from your perspective, what are the skills are needed, you think, to overcome the obstacles in innovative learning?
Okay, so in my point of view, I think the first important skill is to find your own comfortable pace to progress in your learning. So like so now like more parents for students are taking the more innovative method instead of following the traditional education systems. They are learning lots of things in advance, so it's very common that lots of students or parents are very anxious right now. For example, like my brother is in primary school, and he's in like the first grade, and one of his classmates have already finished the English version of Harry Potter's. So all 7 books she had finished. And so once my parents were so anxious that they taught me, they asked me advice of whether like they should register lots of like extracurricular curriculums for my brother. And I just replied by saying that just gave him a try, and if he liked it, then have a try, and if he don't like it, then don't force it to do so. So like when I was in my brother's age, my parents they had a good mindset, and they had very positive attitudes. So they gave me a very happy childhood. So basically I didn't participate in lots of Olympic maths, and I only have one extracurricular curriculum, which is piano. So right now I feel like I'm energetic enough to conquer the difficulties I meet in my learning life, and I have the ability to face my stress and pressure, and to regulate it, to adjust it until I conquer the difficulty. So that's one thing I think it's very important. And the other thing is that since we are, as Ziyun mentioned before, we're facing lots of information, and there is likely to be contradictory information, or there's just too much information and we don't know how to choose the most appropriate one. Like, to be honest, everyone just played a video with like double speed, and sometimes we will just come across some videos where resources that are of bad quality, and we complain that it is totally a waste of time. So I think like students should be informed more about how to use internet appropriately, and how to select the most suitable resources for themselves. For example, teachers could set up special informational sessions for them to inform them, for example, like how to use AI tools correctly in completing their projects. And also maybe some legislative efforts, like the recommendation systems could be established to navigate students when they're surfing the internet to find useful resources for their learning. And so I think, to wrap up, there are certainly some difficulties brought about by the innovations in learning methods, whatever people's longing to learn in advance for the advancements in informational technologies, but these are not what should keep us from advancing and revolutionizing the education. We should like embrace the challenges, and yeah, after conquering it, we will have a better education system or experiences, I would say.
Thank you, Iran. I really like the confidence you expressed in your sharing and connect to the point that learning need to be more personalized. I think you mentioned something similar, that individualism needs to be respected and self-paced, because students also know what they like the most and what they still need space to learn and to work on. So it's need to be respected. And also like the skill to analyze information also has been highlighted. And I think it's a very important input. Thank you so much. Ziyun, it's your turn.
Yeah, I think the speakers before me has pretty much covered many of the like visible obstacles in innovative learning. To add on to that, I just want to mention, I think patience is very important, because if the system cannot be changed as a whole, we cannot force ourselves into adding something too big of a change. If so, then it will be a torment for both the teachers and the students, because they will be caught up in why am I doing these tasks? Whereas if we try bit by bit, it will be more comfortable stepping into a new kind of learning model. For example, it is important for us to like focus on how to make innovative learning more comfortable for students, while they still have to take these tests in order to get into high school and college. And how can we make that happen? And how could that will it just be a fun part of their learning process as an adjustment for their stress? Or is it an organic part of their learning process as a whole? So I think that's worth considering. And also, apart from an individual personalized learning experience, I think cooperation is also very important. It's the cooperation between the teacher and the students, and also the cooperation between students, because in innovative learning, many forms involves like group work or like collaborating with your peers. So I think it is important to learn the skill of cooperation, and that also prepares students for their careers. So I think, yeah, that's very important.
Thank you, Ziyun. And I think what you just said strengthened your previous sharing on like personalized like the importance of considering students' needs and the feelings, and it's important to consider their feelings and their thoughts into the decision making, and what is and contextualize what is innovative learning, how to make innovative learning. And thank you so much. And we have one question, everyone. And I like, and so far I think we had a very fruitful exchange and sharing, and thank you so much. And our last question is, how do you expect to an innovative education to look like and feel like? Use your imagination, there's no limitation. Jeffrey, we still start with you.
Oh, sure. I would like to answer the last question from two vantage points. First, as an EdTech teacher, and EdTech teacher slash um, teacher education professor, perhaps, which is my current profession. And also, on the other hand, I want to answer it from a learner's perspective. So first, I would like to answer it from an EdTech teacher's perspective. A while ago, ever since we started this conversation, um, EdTech or technology is present throughout each of the rounds. So it keeps me more excited to actually listen and reflect to every single question. And it came to my mind, okay. A while ago, before entering the Zoom link, my topic is about flexible learning. That's actually my topic in my class earlier. It's an online class, by the way. Um, and after that class, entering this session, perhaps I want innovative education to look, number one, future ready, because not only we have two guests here who are entering at least higher education, perhaps, or at least for them a bright future is ahead. And being future ready, not only the younger generation would benefit, but also the current ones, the younger professionals, at least ready with the current skills, um, prepared with the necessary skills to at least move further, and aside from future ready, at least adaptive. I would never let go of that word, adaptive. Um, with the presence of artificial intelligence, of course, in the field of education, I always mention to my students that human-centeredness would always be a part of it. The human should always be a part of the innovation. And the one way to go with it is to adapt to it. And aside from being future ready and adaptive, I want the innovative education to be learner-centered / learner-friendly. Why? We have wonderful learners that needs to be educated. We want there are learners that needs to be shaped correctly and appropriately and developmentally appropriate, to be specific. Now, as a learner, I am still learning. I want an innovative education to be supportive, at the same time, um, not necessarily transformative, but supportive, and at the same time, meaningful. Supportive and meaningful to the point that, yes, innovations keep on progressing, but it would still help me learn more and support my interests and needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Innovative learning needs to be more future ready, adaptive, learning friendly, and meaningful. That pretty much summarized our discussion. Thank you so much. And Stanza?
Yeah,
I think this is
I
the
think
very
so.
fun part. It's like how does like innovative education look like? It's very fun.
Yeah, so I echo what Jeffrey said just now. From a tech perspective and innovative education. Um, I would say innovative education should be accessible at all localities, no matter, you're in a remote area or, in a city. Children or students in the remote area should have access to technology. It's there, it's needed. We saw during the pandemic, students go drop out, not being in classroom for 1 year just because they don't have devices. So, innovative education should be accessible. It should be free. That's why education financing is important, you know. And I think so most of the countries that education in their budgets, education gets the highest allocation of money every year. And innovative education shouldn't be rigid. It should have enough resources for different level and different types of students. No matter if you're a special need or you're an amazing student, if you're an excellent student, yes, we have another set of problem solving materials for you to go through it, solve those challenges. We have different levels kind of resources. And then it should be, because I teach children, so I love fun learning, so it should be an environment where it it should be a safe environment for them to learn. Some people get very scared of technology, like the use of technology, like there's too much technology in innovative education. Like it's so difficult to actually bring technology to remote areas, like the fear is there. So innovative education should be like a safe space for learning in different locality, and it should involve all this 21st century teaching tools, teaching skills, future ready skills, and these things should be practiced frequently in the classrooms so that students can try out new skills. It's not going based on your textbook or your curriculum. Yes, you need to finish your curriculum, you have your textbook there. I'm like sitting in, my point of view is like being a student right now, being like a 10-year-old, and what I want for my teacher in an innovative education system, like I have students like, teacher, this class is boring. Why are we just watching video and answering, reading comprehension question text, I had one student, my first lesson triggered me there. I said, what would you like to do? Like I throw back the question to the student, what would you like to do? Let's go down and play some games how to solve this problem. Fine, 12 years old. Let's go down, go down to the field and, try to solve this problem, and I switch the role, like I can facilitate you, but you give me the ideas. How should I teach you, And that opened up my mind. Like innovative education shouldn't be only focusing on technology, but really learning, to equip themselves for the future. So that is my takeaway. Well, I love this conversation, I love, hearing from teachers and, students, they themselves, expressing their, I want my teacher to teach me like this, I echo what Ziran and Zia is saying. There's like, I wish my teacher was like this. I wish that, I feel bad, if I don't give enough for my students. So good one.
Thank you, Thansa, and I really appreciate your comments, and that's why we need this, and that's why we initiated this conversation, intergenerational conversations. And also, I totally agree that innovative education is not another burden, is not a buzzword. It needs to be accessible, it needs to be affordable, especially for communities that is underserved, and also it's important to have this community to inspire each other, to sparkle each other, and technology is not the answer, but it's a tool, it's something we use to support the students, to support the development of education. Thank you so much. Neil, yes.
Yeah, okay. So for me, actually, innovative learning, actually, it look like the learning environment that is completely accessible for all, that is completely inclusive for all, regardless of the learning status. So I imagine that environment where everyone learning based on their level of understanding or based on their learning capabilities. That's the a thing which I want to see in regards to the innovative learning. So I want to see children, though having a disability or not, are studying in the same classroom, with the same environment, with the same teachers, and with the same with the like techniques which is suitable for addressing their learning needs, which I want to say. And yeah, I do completely agree with what a fellow panelist have just shared about their thoughts. So additionally, I want to see uh, innovative learning, as the personalized learning, as the experimental learning, and as the experiential learning. Like the theoretical knowledge that they have learned in the classroom that can like that can be replicated, or the students which they have learned in the classroom or in the textbook, they can really apply in their practical lives in one or another way, which I consider as the innovative learning. Additionally, I consider is like having access uh, of learning materials, or let's say technology, or the all the resources are easily available, so that the students themselves can actively engage and explore whatever they want, and they themselves able to internalize the learnings based on their, what to say, like experiment, based on their research, and the learnings that they have acquired in the school level, that they can transform them into the like a successful life. So this is what I envision in regards to the innovating learning, and I'm really happy that the most important takeaway is that different panelists who belongs to different areas, whatever they have shared from their perspective, which is really like eye-opening and insightful for me, and that actually resembles the in innovative learning, and that's the techniques, the ideas that they have delivered or they are shared here, that actually helps to transform the education and the achieve the quality education which we have targeted to achieve by 2030. Thank you so much, and I'm happy to be the part of this conversation.
Thank you. So sorry, I think I was off a little bit, but now I'm back. And thank you for sharing, Neil. And I can see that your background like has changed, like become a little bit darker. And thank you so much for staying with us for this long. And Xinran, how about what do you think?
So my ambition for more innovative like transformative education would be, first of all, more prevalent, which will fulfill the need for achieving education equality. So this means that both the students from rural areas and urban areas can achieve the similar opportunities to strive for their goals, to win their better future. And secondly, I think that a better transformative education should be more targeted, which means that students had a chance to find their passion, which is narrow enough for them to put their energy and efforts into it, to develop their expertise in that field. And the last one, which I regard as the most important one, is that education, especially for the education that bridges secondary education to higher education, it should be more fascinating and interesting, because from secondary education to higher education, it means that you're gradually stepping toward to your major and career, and you're going to do that work in the rest of your life. So you have to ensure that you have enough passion and interest in that subject, so that you have enough strength to stick to your goal in case you encounter any difficulty. And thus also in that process, in discovering your goals and the interests, you are going to realize your social responsibilities, because you are using what you've learned to return it to the society. Yeah. Oh, I could see that Miss Fu was off the meeting,
Yes.
so
Yes. UJ's internet is in a bad shape right now, so we will continue the dialogue. Shijung, please.
Oh, yeah. I think I will just wrap up this question with a brief answer. My vision for a future innovative learning process, like I think the most important thing is that students should really enjoy the process of learning. I think that's eventually what us as people who are really devoted into making education better wants to see is that people are actually happy when they are learning and they are obtaining knowledge. I think with this joy, people could naturally be more invested into learning and pursuing academic career. And also the whole the atmosphere of education, learning and teaching could be better as a whole. I envision that in future educational institutions like schools or college and similar organizations, students will have the chance to um, pursue what they're truly interested in via the technological support we can provide and the innovative means designed for them to enjoy the learning process. And yeah, I think that's the most essential thing I want to address. And so that's my ambition. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yun. I want to congratulate all the panelists. It has been a really, really rich and high-level discussion about education. Doing a quick summary, I would say that most of the dialogue, we were all nodding our heads. We were all agreeing with what other panelists were saying. And what you said is very in line what we propose at the project. Student-centered learning, teacher as a facilitator, as someone that accompanies the student in the process, helping co-create solutions together, adaptability for the future, embracing tech, but not only thinking about innovation as tech, because the innovation is within ourselves. The agency is within ourselves. I will also agree with a lot with Nir said about we need to improve accessibility for equity deserving groups, not only neurodiverse groups or physically impediments, but also, as Shinran said, bridge the gap between rural and urban areas. Infrastructure has to be better, and we need to broaden the tools digitally to really improve the conditions of learning for those people. Also, I would I'm very, very happy to be part of this dialogue. I think the future is bright with teachers such as Santa and Jeffrey, and with students like Young and Shinran. You could see that you guys actually practice self-regulation, learning, and self-centered, student-centered learning based on your criteria. So the future is bright, I think, but we need to keep pushing for a positive change for education. I would like to finish this dialogue with a quick reflection of all of you and how this intergenerational interchange affected you, how it impacted you. I think it's the first time we have teachers in the panels, so I think that their vantage point was really, really acute and really, really brought technical expertise to the discussion, and I'm really, really curious about for you, Shijun and Shiran, how did you feel about it? And of course, we'll go to the teachers as well. Since Shijun is highlighted, would you like to start?
Okay, then maybe I'll go first. So
Okay.
yeah, I feel so honored today to be here to have the opportunity to discuss the topic of education with you. From like this is actually interdisciplinary and intergeneration. So yeah, after like attending this panel, I think I have already had some new insights about education because I have confusions and I have anxiety about receiving education and transforming myself to better prepare for the higher education. And now after hearing your opinions and some suggestions, I feel like I have the energy to adjust myself and to help people around me to better adjust to the transformation between secondary and higher education. And yeah, and also I will like give pass that positive attitudes to my parents to yeah, kind of inform them that everything will be okay. Just take it easy, I would say. And also like we would have need more propagation of innovations like technological or whatever cultural or innovations in the education system. And yeah, I look forward to the future changes. And also I again I'm so appreciate I very appreciate this opportunity, and I expect to have another maybe opportunity to discuss with you about such project, such topic. Sorry.
I'm sure you will. Chijun?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things on the top of my mind right now is it's really meaningful to divide the innovative education topic by regions in the globe because I really do see a lot in common because we're all in these the large region of Asian Pacific. Our educational systems in although in different countries, but it's also fun and meaningful to learn how we're different and how we could rely upon each other and that our differences are advantages to improve ourselves. And in terms of talking across generations, I think I really have new insights on what determines transformative and innovative education. I'm also more cherishing my own experience as a student in the 21st century. I think although maybe only 10, 15 years has passed, my environment has been very different from the past generation. And that do believe brings me courage that after another 10, 15 years, we could bring something better for the next generation and some innovative education environment. So yeah, that's very hope injecting. I'm very honored to talk to you all.
Thank you so much, Chijun. Nir, you still with us? We would like to hear from you.
Yeah.
You're
Okay. Yeah. Am I audible?
yes, we hear you now.
Yeah. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, no problem. How do you feel about the discussion and the intergenerational aspect of it? Did you feel the experience that perhaps Shinran and Shiyun had is really different, differs too much of what you had in high school, and how enriched the conversation for you in terms of knowing what the young people studying at the moment in terms of the landscape of education?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. So the discussion was really good for me because I got insights how the education system in other countries and how is the innovative learning methodology or how the learning strategy getting changed in different countries. So I was comparing my countries with the sharings what China, Malaysia, and other countries that I try to compare and through the discussion, like I also reflected so many things we have not which are not coming in my mind, or which I used to not give priority. Um, so basically, the education that need to be transfer me, like, okay, the email, even a small piece of things, how it can transfer, or how we can link the education with different stuffs. So uh, I really enjoyed, and like I was just imagining how it can we can replicate those things in our countries. Yes, definitely. As the system is evolving and as the system have adapted some new methodologies, the education system is getting changed. We are hopeful, yet there is yet to be changed so many things. And yeah, definitely such kinds of level of intergenerational discussion or intergenerational dialogue, it helps to amplify, or it helps to identify the gaps between different generation, or between the young people, or between the professionals who have been working in different environments. And I really enjoyed it. And definitely, like, some things due to the internet connectivity, some things were really tough to, like, build a coherent idea, but I was happy. And this kind of dialogue definitely helps to brainstorm further and, like, generate the advocacy. Since here I'm advocating for the inclusive education for all young people with disabilities, the sharing the insight received from the fellow panelists have helped me further, like how we can advocate more for ensuring the better learning environment for all the children. So I'm happy for that, and thanks for this opportunity.
We thank you for being here, truly. Samantha, the floor is yours now. Thank you.
Well, this session was actually uh, a bit challenging for me because is giving us teachers a huge responsibility here to think what is next for your generation and the generation to come. If Zinran's and Zian's generation is, asking us so much that they need, and we young teachers are still, learning and learning and learning, what is more that the future generation needs. So this is actually is going to be a huge responsibility for all of us, like educators, different stakeholders, ministers, to really think how they could transform the education system everywhere around the world, to be accessible for everyone so that oh the current generation has everything. What else they don't have? Like, how are we going to cater that? And what is the next generation going to be like? It's scary to think about it, but it's actually a huge responsibility for all of us to to transform education for the future. And I think so. Moving on from this and next year, I think so. The crucial part at tests and even summit for the future will be a very good focal point to think about how to transform education as a whole. So yeah.
I think with education professionals as yourself, we're on the right track. So yeah, education
Hopefully.
education had a win over the fashion industry in this one. Jeffrey, we close it with you. The floor is yours.
Sure, I'll make it quick. I'll make it simple. This session that I really look forward to is actually a time to reflect. Okay, the entire 3 rounds will is actually a time to reflect. A while ago, the question is what the current generation is missing. The answer is the opportunity to reflect. Nowadays, specifically in an online learning environment, from a teacher's perspective, the opportunity to reflect, to achieve ownership of learning is missing, if there is, it's lacking. And at least to our two friends here who are will be in higher education, at least throughout your journey, do not forget to reflect. And this that will actually help you a lot throughout discovering yourselves. But the opportunity to reflect and at least um, think ahead and move forward. That's the thing. Throughout each of the rounds, you talk about um, what challenges, obstacles, how did you came up with it, and those questions would actually lead us to one thing: innovation. The innovation, yes, there are technological innovations there, of course. From as an edtech teacher, I do believe in that. But also the best innovation, and I say this to my class, the best instructional material inside the class, online or physical, would be the teacher, the human being. And in our case, the best innovation is us. We learn more and we adapt to learn more. Thank you.
What a great message to finish the dialogue. Now, pretty quickly, I'm going to share our social media if you want to connect with us even further. And from UNESCO ASPnet, the International Institute of Higher Education, and UNESCO ASPnet, we kindly thank you for your presence today. It has been a wonderful pleasure to have you all, and best of luck in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This is a very great conversation. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for having us.
Bye-bye.